What is up? Welcome back, guys, to another week of our Monday Mindset Call. We had a slight delay in filming these the last week and a half or so. As you guys know, we've had a lot of construction. You can see the office is a different color, so that is cool. But a lot of different house projects going on, so we are actually going to double up on these this week. So I am actually stoked about that. Now, you'll see today we have this one titled Self-Sabotage. And people say this term a lot, and I almost feel like it's overused. You'll see this a lot. People are like almost self-therapizing themselves, where it's, I feel like I'm scared of success, or, I always blow it at the end. And sure, those things could be true. Um, but there are a multitude of reasons why we self-sabotage, and a multitude of reasons or ways that this manifests itself. So let's get real. How many times have you felt like you were on track only to do something that completely derailed your progress? That is self sabotage. It's an inner voice or a hidden force that almost compels you to hit the brakes right when you're actually gaining momentum. And today we're breaking down why it happens, how the hell we can deal with it, what to do instead. So, first off, what is self sabotage? Well, it is a hidden barrier. Self sabotage is when your actions or your lack of actions at times get in the way of your goals. And it's not always obvious, but it's a pattern of behavior that keeps you stuck. Some examples that come to mind, especially in the realm of health and fitness, that I see a lot with clients: skipping workouts after you see some progress because you feel like, it's cold out, it's cozy inside, I deserve a break, I've been working hard. Going way off track with your meal plan because you think, well, like, it's just one day, it's not that big a deal. Maybe I don't need to track this meal. Like, I don't feel like it, and I've been tracking most of the time, anyways. Or it's procrastinating on tasks that you know will move you forward. This could be in business as well. How many times do we avoid the thing that we know we should be doing to get us to the next level? That's an example of self sabotage, guys. Now, now that we've defined what self sabotage is, why the hell do we do that? Because it doesn't sound like there's any upside to it. And I'll go through a few reasons that are pretty common here, and then I'll give my input on that. So, why do we self sabotage? Well, one of the first things that pops up is fear of failure. Some people sabotage themselves because they're afraid they might screw up. So, it's easier to save face and quit early. Think of it like when you are going up and doing karaoke. A lot of times, like, you just like are over the top and do an intentionally shit job, or almost do like a performance where you don't try to sing, just so people laugh at you, because that's easier than actually trying and failing. Now, karaoke is obviously an example, but this also shows in other ways. Think about how many times you've had a new sport, a new activity you tried. Um, your wife asked you to do some type of class with her, go dancing. And you didn't want to make a fool of yourself, so what did you do? You either avoided it or you intentionally made a fool of yourself to kind of beat people to the punch. That's an example of self sabotage. So, fear of failure. On the flip side of it, you hear this one a lot: fear of success. So, other times, and this one, I know it sounds weird, but success often brings change. And with change comes more responsibility. And more responsibility is going to cause us to have to audit what we're currently doing, kind of shine a light on those areas of ourselves that maybe aren't serving us. So it's almost this way of protecting our ego, where, we say, you know what, it might be uncomfortable to give up a lot of these things about myself, and it's kind of scary. So I'm going to avoid it. So that's an example of fear of success with self sabotage. Now, the next one is a really common one, and that's the comfort zone. You hear this a lot with a lot of terrible fitness memes and pages where it's like, oh, like, comfort zone is a death zone, blah, blah, blah. It's almost overused. There's some truth to it, though. As human beings, we crave homeostasis. We want comfort, we want safety, we want security. We want to feel good, warm, and fuzzy all the time. And your brain loves this. And even if your current habits aren't serving you, as long as they're familiar, your brain wants to stay safe and feel predictable. Think about that friend you have that's in a terrible relationship. They've been in a terrible relationship, and you can see it from the outside looking in. You're like, my God, just leave. But they're familiar, and like, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. That is what the comfort zone is. The next one is beliefs about deservedness, and this one gets to a lot of people. And I've dealt with this in the past as well. That's feelings or beliefs about deserving the thing. So deep down, some people don't feel like they deserve to succeed. They might think, who am I to be healthy, happy, successful? Who am I to have all these things? And we actually will find reasons to justify why we shouldn't have those things. It will create opportunities to fail intentionally. So, recognizing now that we've defined these things, we've established reasons about it, how do we recognize self-sabotage in real time? Because hindsight's 2020, right? And it's easy to look back at patterns when you were 25 years old and see the screw-ups you made, be like, oh my God, it's so obvious. But I'm sure the same thing's gonna happen 10 years from now. You're gonna look back and be like, it was right in front of me. So how do we save ourselves the frustration of having to wait that long and absorb those lessons down the road when we can take them right now and live a much better life? Well, we want to spot the patterns first. The first step is to recognize patterns, and when do you start making excuses or justifying bad habits? What triggers it? I know for myself, if I get sick, I use that as an excuse to go off track, and then I start finding more reasons to go off track. I recognize that pattern. A lot of times I'll justify it by saying I'm focusing on work, and then I let my health slip. That's an example of self-sabotage. Ask the difficult questions to yourself once you spot a pattern. So when you catch yourself slipping, ask, what am I afraid of right now? What am I avoiding by making this decision? What should I be doing that I'm intentionally not looking at? Almost holding up a flashlight on your blind spots and really observing yourself. I like to think of viewing myself as if I was watching a documentary. If someone was just in the corner of a room with a camera, like this camera staring at me right now, and people are watching me live, and I get to see myself. What would they think? What would I think? Would I think the decisions I'm making are the decisions that get me where I want to be? If we take our emotions out of it, the answers become pretty clear to us on what we should do next. The next thing we want to do is we want to notice that inner dialogue. So pay attention to the stories that you are telling yourself. Is your voice saying that you're too tired, that you'll start fresh tomorrow, like, oh, I'm going to do a month of perfection? That is sabotage. You see this a lot with guys that are okay with their health too. They're like, well, at least I'm not fat. At least I'm not that guy. It's an example of self-sabotage. What are you avoiding? Does that make you feel good to compare yourself? Ask yourself these questions. Be relentless and honest with them. Radical honesty is one of the core values we have at Velocity. That means being honest with yourself, with others, with everyone around you, even if it's uncomfortable. And the more honest you are with yourself, the more progress you're going to make. So ask yourself, are you actually putting 100% into what you're doing here and with the intentions behind your goals? Or are you just telling yourself a lie? Now, breaking free from self-sabotage. Well, first, let's get clear on why the hell we want to do that in the first place. Guys, if you've learned one thing in the dozen or so calls I've had, it is that setting a clear and compelling vision of the future is of paramount importance. It's probably the most important work we can do because it's the measuring stick of, are we making progress? If we don't have a clear, compelling vision of where we want to go with our health, our fitness, our career, our families, our relationships, if we don't have a vision of what the dream outcome looks like, how will you know that you've had it? How will you ever know that you deserve to feel fulfilled? You're just going to be walking around with this angst and frustration all the time. That's a recipe for a lot of terrible things to creep in. That's where alcohol creeps in. That's where drug use creeps in. That's where infidelity creeps in. All of those things, you're going to fill that void with something. So define the vision of the future so you can clearly articulate it. Next, set clear rules and boundaries for yourself. So just like we talked about before, rules keep you on track. For example, I complete my workout 3 days a week, no matter what. I prep my meals every Sunday, no exceptions. I don't drink alcohol during the week, ever. It's not who I am. Setting these boundaries for yourself allows you to have something that you can hold fast to and not compromise on. And then, now we set these rules, expect to break them. You're going to screw up. There's going to be messes. You're going to crack some eggs in the process of this. So embrace the imperfection. Understand that progress isn't about being perfect all the time. It's about showing up consistently. And one bad day does not define you by any stretch of the imagination, but quitting absolutely does. Um, I was never the best athlete, believe it or not, but what I was great at and what I developed a real knack for was getting my teeth kicked in and keep going and over and over and over and over and over again. And eventually everyone around me started quitting, and then I'd be the last one left. And that has paid off in a lot of different ways in life. And that is because I got really okay with embracing, cool, how I get there might not be the prettiest way. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. But if I keep going, it's not a matter of if I ever accomplish this, it's only when. And that's a pretty powerful place to be. The final thing, guys, is reframing the failure with this. If failure is what's holding you back, reframe it. Every setback is data. One of my beliefs is that there is no failure, there's only feedback. Everything is just a learning, and lessons that we don't learn will continue repeating themselves until we learn the lesson. So, it's feedback that teaches you what to adjust, not a reason to stop. Now, having some daily practices to stay ahead of self-sabotage. We want to plan ahead. Most sabotage happens when you are reactive and not proactive about your day. You don't have any intention behind it. You don't have intentions with what you're going to eat that day, with what you're going to do, where you're going to go, how you're going to run your day. Schedule your workouts, schedule your meetings, prep your stuff, have a plan. Next one is we want to celebrate the small stuff. A lot of you guys are brutally hard on yourselves, and it blows my mind because holy shit, you guys, a lot of you have hard lives already. You have a lot of stress. Why throw up the barrier of being hard on yourself? Like, we want to celebrate the shit out of our small wins because that teaches our subconscious that if we do the right thing, like, oh shit, we actually get rewarded for it. It's like when you're training a dog. You don't just tell your dog, you're terrible, you're terrible, you're terrible, and then it does something good, and instead of telling it you're terrible, you just don't tell it it's terrible. No, you reward it. It's a much better way to learn. Your dog loves you. Otherwise, it's a miserable way to go through life. We want to lean into accountability as well. Sharing your goals with your family, your friends, a coach, whether it's a coach, friend, group, whatever it is, share it with somebody. Don't do it alone. If you just internalize this, you're going to get really good at talking yourself out of taking action, talking yourself out of doing things. So I hope that gave you some insight into this topic. Again, self-sabotage, it's a term that's thrown out there so loosely, but there is validity to it. And when we are experiencing this, notice the patterns, be conscious of it, ask what are you avoiding, and then set a plan, take action. If this is something that you guys need support with, do not hesitate to reach out to your primary support. We have an amazing team at Velocity HDO, really some of the best in the business, and you would be shortchanging yourself not to lean into their shared experience and knowledge of this team. So this week, I want you guys to write down one area where you notice self-sabotage creeping in. And then I want you to commit to one rule or action that's going to stop it in its tracks. And remember, it's not a sign of weakness if you self-sabotage. It's a sign that you are actually on the edge of growth and you have a very important decision to make. You can break through it and be unstoppable, or you can crumble and stay stuck. At the end of the day, the decision is yours. Have a great week. As always, let's all win. See you guys.